Remember the AHCA, or Trump Care as some called it, that wouldn't pass the House because moderate Republicans were scared of it, and then the Freedom Caucus Republicans thought it wasn't cruel enough? Remember that healthcare bill that the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office found would cause as many as 24 million Americans to lose coverage? That was essentially a $1 trillion tax cut for the wealthy. The same bill that the American Medical Association, American Academy of Pediatrics, AARP, and others opposed because it was far too cruel. Now, some of these groups are not exactly even liberal-leaning, by the way. They even oppose single-payer. But I feel like if there's a group of people that would understand the devastating consequences of a bill like this, it would probably be doctors. Turns out the only way to solve the problem for moderate Republicans in vulnerable districts was to take a shitty bill and make it much worse. Worse! This time, without any public hearings or a fucking CBO estimate, or even enough time to read this new bill, because congressmen don't like to read things, much like a third grader or Trump.
Morning, Congressman. Have you had time to read the health care bill?
We're still working on it.
Have you read the whole bill?
I don't think any individual has read the whole bill.
But all lives matter. I mean, that's fine, I guess. It'll only ruin the lives of millions of people, but fuck them. And by the way, if you want to know what a motherless cuck Paul fucking Ryan is, just listen to his take on the issue of hasty legislation, much like this one.
I don't think we should pass bills that we haven't read, that we don't know what they cost.
I thought Paul Ryan was an intelligent, principled policy wonk with well-thought-out positions on the economy that I merely disagree with. Turns out, he's just as much of a hypocritical imbecile as the rest of the fucking GOP. I need you all to understand this. This is a bill that will restructure 1/6 of the entire American economy. And House Republicans, who I'm assuming have either honestly lost their minds or genuinely think people in their districts are absolutely too stupid to see through this, just decided to say, fuck it. This bill's much worse than the original one. First off, it cuts Medicaid, which means bye-bye to healthcare for many individuals who earn less than $15,000 a year. Because let's be honest, people who make the equivalent of a Ford Pinto have enjoyed way too much financial freedom. And you know what? Another group of people who've had far too much for far too long are children with mental disabilities who will, in a lot of cases, not be able to afford health insurance for the rest of their lives. Yeah, those children, their lives don't really matter either. But to be fair, at least once they grow up, they'll be able to purchase a firearm, so that's fair and balanced. And you know what else is fair and balanced? Making sure pregnancies and sexual assaults are labeled pre-existing conditions that grant insurers the right to deny coverage. Because in America, you can talk openly about sexually assaulting women and become president. We'll reward you for that. But if you do get sexually assaulted, you probably had it coming to you, and you should probably pay out of pocket for all your future healthcare needs. I mean, after all, we know women are just getting abortions to get free trips.
You have individuals who are in villages and, are glad to be pregnant so that they can have an abortion because there's a free trip to Anchorage involved.
In every instance, a healthy way to analyze most legislation is to take a look at the beneficiaries. Who benefits the most from the AHCA? Why would House Republicans pass such an awful bill when they knew Obamacare provisions were important? So important, in fact, that they preserved those provisions just for themselves. Well, there's two reasons. One, Republicans still think trickle-down economics works, because this bill is going to kill a bunch of poor Americans so that very rich Americans can be just a little bit richer. But maybe those rich will create more jobs now with the $600 billion tax cut coming for the 0.1% who definitely need that, so they can create more jobs. Duh. Everybody knows that. Two, and perhaps even more important than number one, is winning. That's literally all it is. They wanted to put a W on the boards after being tossed around by fake tears Chuck Schumer. Just look at how happy Donald Trump and his crew of old white cucks behind him are to take away healthcare from millions of Americans. They're celebrating. Mike Pence looks like he's about to cry. What the fuck?
You know, coming from a different world and only being a politician for a short period of time, how am I doing? Am I doing okay? I'm president. Hey, I'm president. Can you believe it?
No, we can't believe it. I also can't believe people called you a populist. They trusted you. I don't understand it. You also promised that no one would die in the streets under your new healthcare plan, except that was also a lie. But the best part about this has to be that Donald Trump then went on to praise the Australian healthcare system later that night.
I shouldn't say this to our great gentleman and my friend from Australia, because you have better healthcare than we do. But we're going to have great healthcare very soon.
I can't. With Australia has universal healthcare coverage for all of its citizens, you orange moron! This is like if Trump passed legislation tomorrow allowing all Americans to buy bazookas and lift all restrictions, and then he called Australia to be like, hey, Australia, we passed a bill here, but your but your gun laws are much better. But look, it's not over. It's far from over. Now we have to make sure that the Senate has enough sane Republicans to rip this colossal fuck sandwich of a bill apart, and that turtle hybrid Mitch McConnell is not evil enough to ensure safe passage. We actually need 3 sane Republicans. 3. And we can do something. We can flood those moderate Republican senators' offices with calls, with emails, letters, faxes, while also showing up at town halls for Republican House members who voted for this abomination to let them know how we feel and send a message to those wavering Senate Republicans that there will be a political price to pay. And then we rely on the Republican congressman's sanity. And that's terrifying, because relying on Republican congressman's sanity is like relying on a blind penguin to land a plane safely. Get it? Because penguins can't fly. But there are lessons to take from this. There's no clearer signal that congressional representatives don't actually represent your best interests. They represent their pockets getting filled up with corporate donations. They represent the wishes of the upper crust of society that they all belong to. And also, to add to the irony, the very same Republicans who lied and spread fear about death panels that were coming for you when attacking Obamacare, they now have themselves, alongside Trump, become a giant death panel by signing this bill and denying healthcare coverage to millions of Americans. And they celebrated the fact with a fucking beer bust. I'm Hassan Piker. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Hassan D. Piker and on Twitter at Hassan the Hun. And this has been The Breakdown.